Well, hello, kids. Welcome to 2026. Wow. Well, had a great break, but good grief, I needed to get back to work. Almost 3 weeks off, and I couldn't take any more. Although I didn't just sit around the whole time, I did do multiple projects around the house. Traveled out to Montana to see some of the grandkids. I had a really good season. Hopefully you did as well. But now it is time to get back after it. Tracy and I've been busy all week reformatting the look. I say we, it's mostly her or all her. If I'm going to be honest, reformatting the way we're going to present our videos, making a few changes here and there. I went through the hell today of replacing the computer, my main primary computer at my desk. We don't even want to go there, but we've been really busy trying to get everything put in place to where 2026 is going to be another fantastic year. 25 was good. 26 is going to be even better. And speaking of making things better, I want to make sure I get all of this right. I get a lot of questions, and a picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, a video is worth 10,000 words. So we've created a new way for you to send me your questions with video directly to us. And the way we still have an active email address, but now you can go to the website and there is a page, partzilla.com/askjohn, and a form is going to pop up. And in that form, you can load up to 4 different videos and tell me what kind of problem that you're having, and it'll come directly to me, and I'll respond back to you. And if we deem it worthy, we'll use it on our Friday live at 3s. We'll probably lead off with what was the question of the week, and whoever gets that honor, who knows? We might be able to talk Charlotte into sending out a prize pack or swag pack or whatever I may come up with. There's no telling. This is my world, and I make the rules for the most part. Oh, so what else is going on? The Arena Cross series that's wrapping up. I believe there's 2 more events that Mike and Nathan have been working on. But this weekend, they're re-kicking off the new 2026 season of the Monster Energy Supercross series in Anaheim. And I believe they're going there twice. So this is Anaheim 1. And Team PRMX will be there along with all their trailer and setup and different riders. And of course, we will be there as well, handing out swag packs. So if you're heading to that event, come hit us up. All right. For today, let's see what all we have going on. Hank sent these to me just a few minutes ago, and so I didn't have a lot of time to dig deep into them. So hopefully I can just do it off the top of my head. There they are. All right, CJ8172. When you go to install a head, do you have to retorque the head after a few heat cycles? For the most part, no. That retorquing, that was mainly on much older machines that did not use stretch bolts or stretch studs, and that was with your older type setups, older bolts. And sometimes when you go through a heat cycle or two, on a old 350 small block Chevrolet, you would have to retorque the heads to get them to really clamp down effectively. But 99% of the time, with anything built in the last 10 15 years, you're not going to have to do that. And matter of fact, I would say no, don't do it, because once you stretch those bolts, they've got a certain amount of tension. It's almost like a spring. And if you disturb that by tightening it down more, well, then you run the risk of potentially warping a head. And I know just on a single cylinder, that might not be a big deal, but on a multi-cylinder engine, that could get you into real trouble. All right, Battle of Harja, 1245. Hello, I have a question. Why does my engine throw out coolant, oh boy, while driving under strong gas? And I installed a new head gasket. It's a Yamaha WR426F, older one, isn't it? Whenever somebody tells me, yeah, when I really get on the machine, it starts trying to throw out coolant, I usually say it's probably your head gasket. And I'm not doubting your mechanical abilities, but if you knew you had a head gasket problem and you just threw another one in there, chances are you still have a head gasket problem, because head gaskets fail mainly or primarily because the surfaces, get overheated, that create a gap, or there's some erosion or corrosion at that spot in the head. Out goes the combustible pressure inside of your engine into usually the cooling system, and I believe that's what's happening on yours. So my question to you would be: did you have the surfaces resurfaced as far as your head and the top of your cylinder, or did you check it for trueness or flatness? Chances are you popped in another head gasket and there's still a problem that you couldn't see with the naked eye that still needs to be addressed. So I'd say pull that head back off, have it checked, and then try again after they resurface it. Just be a little careful with that. If the machine shop has to take off several thousandths, well, then you're potentially doing two things. One, bringing up your compression ratio further than the machine was designed to handle on its air fuel ratio, and or it could change your actual timing, because you've got your gear down here and you've got your timing chain going up, and if that distance changes, well, guess what? That gear is going to change every so slightly, and it can make a big difference, especially on a higher performance machine like the WR426. So just be careful. Incredible Dragon. Hi, at Partzilla. I bought a new master cylinder because I couldn't build much pressure in the system, but now I kind of have the same issue. The pedal won't stiffen up. What am I looking for now? Can the issue be elsewhere? Chances are the problem you were having in the beginning is still there, and that is air in the system. And if you don't get all of the air out, it's going to have that spongy feel, and it's not really going to engage that slave cylinder as it should. So you didn't tell me your make and model of your machine, but chances are it's not the way it's routed, or the lines are routed for your braking system. It's got a low point or a high point that's not letting the fluid push the air out by just using the master cylinder to try to get it bled. So you need to get one of those vacuum pumps or a pressurized system and force the fluid through and the air out. And Mighty Vac makes a great system. Huge fan of them. You can either get one that hooks to your air compressor, or you can just do one that activates by hand. It doesn't take a lot of pressure to do this, because we're talking a very, very small tube when in regards to a braking system. But yes, sounds like you've still got air trapped in your system. Will Black 1366. Hey, John, I have an 09 CBR 600RR with a tachometer needle. We get this one fairly often. Bouncing and then not working. Seems to do this every time I ride. Occasionally it works fine, then starts bouncing again. Any advice on where I should start? Check your ground first. But if it were having a problem with the ground, it probably wouldn't want to start, easily. First place I would look is that multi-pin connector that goes to the back of the display itself, or the speedometer itself. All those pins, if a little bit of water gets in there, starts a little bit of corrosion, it'll do what you're describing. Now, don't just spray carb cleaner or brake cleaner or WD-40 or anything like that. They make connector specific type cleaners. I know that CRC makes one, and I've seen that stuff at any local parts store. Comes in a red can, white label. Matter of fact, I've got 2 cans of it over in that large red case on the other side of the camera. I can't remember the exact wording on it, but if you look under the CRC banner, it'll have a picture of a connection like you're talking about, multi-pin connection. That's the kind of stuff you want to use to try to get this cleaned up, if that is the case. Hopefully that is it, and you're not going to have to, my next guess would be maybe a fault inside of the instrument cluster itself, and very few people are qualified to open up one of those. I wouldn't even want to do it. So hopefully it is just a bad connection on that plug itself. Snipes. My Honda Rancher starter has a slow crank. I wouldn't diagnose it as a dead battery. The neutral light isn't dim or off at all. I ran it multiple times this previous week with it slowly cranking and then firing right up. Then I let it sit for a few days because I couldn't get it out of the garage for these past couple of days. And now the starter is still slow, but it won't fire. I have no clue what the problem is. Any help? It really sounds to me like your battery is starting to fail from the scenario that you laid out. Battery has to do a couple of things on startup. One, its biggest demand is it has to turn that starter. Second, it has to power the electronics to bring the Rancher up to life, so to speak. You didn't tell me which year, make, and model, so let's just say it's a TRX 420, which is going to be fuel injected, which means all those electronics, there's a bare minimum that they have to be at before they're going to operate correctly. And that may be why, with your battery falling off the edge finally, that it doesn't have enough amperage or voltage, both, to do both conditions, turn over the starter and supply power to those fuel injection electronics. So long story short, do a battery test if you have one, a tester. Most people don't, but if you at least have a DMM, if you're reading anything less than 12.5 volts, it's static before you hit that start button, chances are your battery is done. That's not an absolute, but it is at least a good gauge as to what's going on inside of that case. Simon Garcia, I've heard this one too. Can a bad stator cause the ground wire on the battery to overheat? Just the ground. The LED or the lead is fine. Most of the time, no. The only time I've ever seen that happen is when the stator was sending out too high voltage, which almost never happens, and that in turn was overdriving the regulator rectifier, and that could cook the both the positive and or the negative line wire or cable going to the battery. But most of the time, no, that your stator is not going to be the problem with your negative wire getting warm. What typically causes that is a bad connection on the negative side itself, and it's usually at the battery. You look down on your battery, you've got your bolt, you've got your cable, and you can see the terminal right under that lug. Okay, it looks fine. Take it off and then look at the actual connection. That's where you're going to find your problem most of the time. Get a wire brush, clean up both the lug and the terminal, put it back together, put enough torque on it, not just with your screwdriver without breaking it off, and to get some pressure down on that connection. And I bet you that it'll be fine. If it looked good, don't stop there. Go to wherever that wire goes to on your frame and do the same procedure. Who knows? It could be a little bit of corrosion at one or both of those two locations. Mark, that's all of them. Mark G. Hey, can anyone help? I don't know. Let's find out. My 08 GSXR 1000 starts fine, but when I give it the beans, it's lacking power. What might be causing that? Spark plugs, fuel injectors, fuel pump. What? Well, you pretty much just named all the different possibilities, and man, this must happen a pretty good bit. I wish I would have done a video on the 08 Gixxer that we had, that white one that we basically pulled out of a dumpster. That was hilarious. On that particular year, make and model, it has not one but two sets of fuel injectors. It has a set of injectors that are really active up until about 3,500 RPMs, and that second set kicks in, and that carries it the rest of the way. And on my particular application, there was just a common ground wire that had been cut or was broken on that upper circuit. So it was fine when you just putt around on it, but when you really got into it, it would fall flat on its face. For me, it was just a wire. If you're telling me that it's acting like that, that is the first place I would go look, because if memory serves, that particular connection, it was at or near the pivot point for the fuel tank. In other words, it could be easily damaged. And that's what happened in the case of the machine that I was working on. But that would be one of the first places I would look. If you don't see anything there, find someone who has a fuel pressure tester, and then test your output, not just sitting still, but when you're giving it the beans as well. Because I've been fooled before, where it's sitting there, 52 or 54 psi like it's supposed to be at idle. Then you get on it, drop down to 40ish, and then it would fall on its face. And that is usually indicative of a stopped up fuel filter coming in, or the fuel filter the fuel pressure or the fuel pump starting to fail in general. All right, well, that catches us up for everything that was sent in. Well, let's see what y'all have for me today. And then at the end of this live session, I want to ask y'all a question, because I want to get your input on what do you think Tracy and I should focus in on this year. Now, we've got a couple of different ones lined up, but I want to hear what you have to say. Any suggestions, year, make, and model, and condition of you want us to dive into this year. So give us some advice on that. And I'll give you a little preview of what we are working on, or going to be working on this year, probably. All right. All right, Scott Roberts, 1759, asked me, I have an 83 KZ 750, older one. Those were fast, or they are fast, or I thought they were. I rode one in like 88. With about 12,000 miles, running 10W40 conventional, and about 1,500 miles, I burn a quart. Wow. Would going to synthetic or a thicker oil help? I wouldn't have any hesitation of going to a semi-synthetic on an older machine like that. The synthetic and the semi-synthetic, they didn't really exist back in that day, or they were just getting started. Where you have to be careful, especially on an older machine like that, going to a full synthetic, which I would not recommend. It is almost too slippery for the clutch plates to deal with, and you'll end up burning those up. So just be aware of that. I would just go with a semi-synthetic in this particular application. Going to a little bit thicker oil, not really. That's not going to make a big difference with this. Your thicker oils, they're going to be more temperature dependent, but it's going to try to get to a certain operating temperature. And thickening up the oil a little bit, it may slow it down a touch, but man, going through a quart every 1,500 miles, that's a lot. That really is a lot. I want to know where it's going. I would be curious if this one's smoking or not. So if you would, send me a video of it on that new interface that we have at Partzilla.com. I want to hear it run. So Scott, send me a picture of your KZ 750 running. I want to hear it. Is it burning it through the or is it the oil getting past the valves, or maybe down below on the rings? Well, only place we would really be able to know that is if we did a leak down test. And who knows, as we get further into this process, then maybe I'll need to send you one out. I think I've got an extra one in my toolbox over there. And Nathan, don't worry about having to switch the ATM, the switcher. I'm just going to talk about them. I wasn't ready to unveil a couple other projects I had in the back. All right, let's head down to the next question. Cody Cornell asks, what upgrades can I do to get the most power out of my 2005 TRX 450R? Well, on that one, it's kind of sky's the limit. if you're really wanting to extract the most out of it, you can, period. You have to look at it not one piece at a time, but pieces that are designed to work together. So pick out the pipe, pick out the exhaust, find the cam, and then the increase your compression ratio. Get those three different aspects all to work together, because you're not reinventing the wheel here. A lot of people have done, modifications to the 450R, whether it be in a TRX or the CRF. They are very similar engines, I promise you. But you want those three things to work in conjunction together. I've seen people do these different wild cams, and they didn't take into consideration the cam with what head pipe they were going to use in it that's going to work best with that cam. Now, can I tell you which one to do straight out of the box? Probably not. But if you head to any forum, where any performance forum, there are going to be people that have gone through and done the grunt work to determine which pieces work best with others, which kids play nicely with others. I guess that's the best way to format that. With the 05, you're still going to be carbureted, so that's going to be your one thing. It's not really holding you back, but that's going to be the hardest part, is to get it tuned correctly when you start upping your compression and your flow rate and your duration, especially your intake and duration with your camshaft. It's going to be a little bit trickier to do. So just be prepared to buy a full jet kit and spend a lot of time tinkering with it to get it dialed in, because I believe that that carburetor has 4 circuits on it. That can be a bit of a challenge, but hey, if you put in the time, the benefits will be worth it. Goldwing Concept Patterns 2565 ask, he has a 2014 Honda Goldwing airbag, neutral, a little hard to find when hot. Should I be worried? 10W40 Motul synthetic for MC. All right, well, nothing against Motul. Love Motul. But I've run into this on Hondas. And I've referenced this a couple of times. I had a VTX 1300, and I'm not going to say which oil it was in it. It really, well, I'll go and tell you. It was Amsoil. That is what the owner used in it. And that thing shifted like crap. And it really did. I took it out and went with the GN4 and the gold bottle, the semi-synthetic, and I went through 2 oil changes, and it smoothed out the shifting. Everything started to gel again. I'm not saying that Motul synthetic is bad. It is just that your Goldwing evidently doesn't like it. That would be the first thing I would try to get it back in line, especially when you're telling me it's doing this when it's hot. That's telling me it's not doing, the oil is not capable of doing its job for this particular application. So make that change and then see what happens. And yeah, send us an email on that, Hank, if you would drop our email address in there. I'd just like, when I give all this advice, I like to know whether or not I'm right and if it actually solved your problems. Because one, that enables me to be really sure of it and then pass all that information, or I will dig deeper and find out what we can try next to find a solution. Applejacks 971. How's it going, guys and girls? Happy New Year, John and Hank. Well, thank you. I'm glad you dropped in to spend some time with us. Good to hear. Good to hear from you. All right, Crazy Flyboy 30 asks, I was just wondering what you thought about my 175 horsepower, that's strong, turbo Sportsman XP 1000 on E85, 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds. You've got to send me a video of that. I want to see that thing lay and drag. Send it in, and I will start off. If you send it in, we'll send you a swag pack, and I'll lead off next Friday with your video. Let's do it. Yeah, I got to see that. Oof. You put in the time to tune that in with the E85. I haven't jumped into that into that arena yet. I thought about it with my last build on my track car, but I'm like, I don't want to haul around that much fuel, every month or so when I hit these different tracks. But hey, hats off to you, dude. Can't wait to see it. Small Tech Guy asks, I have a customer with a 96 GSXR 750 SRAD. The guy told me it was fuel related. Went through the fuel system, still no start. Turns out it only has 120 compression. Was lots of labor. All right, the 120 compression, that didn't scare me to death. That should be enough to at least start it, even on a performance machine like the 750. I know it should be around 140, 145, but 120, it should start. Go back to the basics, man. Air, fuel, compression. Compression, I would spend a little bit more time on the electrical side of it and see if she's actually getting a spark, and then span out from there. I wouldn't go pulling it apart just yet. Is 120 healthy for that engine on compression? No, but it should start. So let's get it started first and wake the rings back up, because man, who knows how long it's been sitting. It's a 96. She's 30 years old. So if you get this thing, or when you get it started back up, those rings may wake up a little bit, and then who knows, you may have that 145 or 150 that would signify a healthier engine. Kev G18 asks, hello, I have an 86 Honda TRX 250R, and my coolant elbows keep blowing off the dome head when hot. Any ideas? I would be a little leery if you've got a head gasket problem on that one. It sounds like the cooling system's getting overpressurized, and it's probably coming from the engine itself. If you can get not a leak down tester, but just a leak tester for a radiator on there, and see if it pumps any fluid into the head. Just be careful. We don't want to hydrolock the thing if it is actually having a swirling of combustion gases versus or into the cooling system. But that'd be the first place I'd look. Maybe we've lost a head gasket here, or starting to lose a head gasket. Skeevy 50 asks, I have a 1998 Big Bear 4x4 350. When I try to start it, it cranks, but it doesn't seem to fire. But I pull one pull of the rope and it starts. What's wrong? I've seen this before. And believe it or not, it is probably due to your pickup coil being in such close proximity to your stator wiring in there. That would be the first place I would look, would be down at that pickup coil, and see if that's the problem. Jason Brewer 6944 asks, if the 1500 XD steel drive trans get full of water, do you think you can just drain it out and flush, then fill with Polaris the ST trans fluid? That's what I would do. I wouldn't flush it once. I'd flush it like 3 or 4 times, and I would run it not under load. In other words, lift up the rear end and just let it run. 2 ways the fluid is going to get out of there: by repetitively filling up and draining it. It's a whole lot cheaper to do that than to pull apart a transmission. And by running it, it will start to burn off. Let's call it some of the condensation or the water that's inside of it. I've started up engines before that have been sitting for a long time, and it was like steam came out of steam did come out of the old filler cap. So don't let that alarm you. That's a good thing when that happens. But once you've drained it a couple of times and that milkiness has gone away, I'd say on the third time, then you can fill it up one more time and actually go run it for, a whole weekend. And then I'd change it one more time just to be sure. And I know I just spent about $100 of your money on oil, but once again, that's a lot cheaper than having to open up a transmission. All right. Last one from Hank. Chevy 5117 asks, good afternoon, John. I have a 1981 XR500. I had a 79 XR250, so I might be able to answer this one. Love that machine. Well, I had it and my 81 CR125 at the same time. I thought I was such a baller back then. All right, back to your question. And I've noticed some oil leaking from the head as well as the front output sprocket area. What could be causing causing this? Should be pretty simple. Probably your head is just going to be the valve cover gasket. If I remember correctly, it's metal on that one. They start to leak after a while. That's an easy fix. Now it's been a few years since I rebuilt the top end on an 80s XR, but if I remember correctly, there wasn't more than a couple of bolts, and I think you can do that in the frame because you also have to pull that off to adjust your valves, and that would be a great time to do it since you're going to be right there anyway. As far as your sprocket area, a machine that old, yeah, that seal at the counter shaft sprocket, yeah, it's time to replace it. But once again, that's not that tough to do. I think we've got a couple of videos where I've done that on various machines. Matter of fact, I know that I did one on our 1968 Honda CT90. It was doing the same thing, just sitting over there on the side of the studio, peeing on the floor, and it was that output shaft. It's not that tough to do. Just take your time, either drill it, put a screw in it, and pop it out, or I like using pick tools better. But those two things are going to be easy fix for you. All right, guys. Just like that, 30 minutes goes by. Well, it's good to get back in the saddle here, back at work, excited for 2026. So here's my question to you. I'd mentioned earlier on, what do you want Tracy and I to work on this year? I mean, I've got that Honda Pilot project that I'm toying with that I'm probably going to get roasted alive for changing out the engine in, but yeah, I've got broad shoulders. I can take the heat. I've got a 1974 XL70 that I picked up actually when I was getting that 700XX. This was actually my first motorcycle, not the exact one, but the same year, make, and model that I'm going to probably restore. So I'm thinking about recording that. We've got our TRX 400EX that has just been rotting away in a container in the back lot of the distribution center. So I'd like to see, I know we're going to do that one. Question is, how far do you think I should go with it? Should I just make it rideable again? Should I bring it back to stock? Should I hop it up just a little bit or a lot? Beyond that, anything else hanging? I still have a 1979 Yamaha YZ250. It's the frame's been powder coated. It's just a rolling chassis, and it's just been sitting. I've never taken the time to go ahead and build up the engine, which I have all the parts for. Would y'all want to see that? Let me know. Other than that, you tell us what year, make, and model you want to see me work on, and which topics would you want done on that particular machine. We want to know, because hey, that's why we're here. We want to give you content that you want to watch. Well, guys, that is going to wrap it up for me. If you're not in Anaheim and you can't go see the Supercross series in person, at least find it online and watch it that way. If you are there, go find Team PRMX and we can set you up with a swag pack. Just want to tell everybody thank you for coming in and sending in some great questions, getting this year rolling, and then it's gonna be a good one. So y'all take care, and we will see you next Friday at 3.